Do you feel like you're truly living in the moment? Or do you sometimes feel disconnected despite being constantly plugged into the world through technology? In today's digital age, we're more connected than ever before, yet many of us are experiencing a deeper sense of loneliness, dissatisfaction, and disconnection than ever. But why is that? Could it be that all this technology, while promising to bring us closer, is actually pulling us further apart? In today's video, we're diving into the thought-provoking philosophy of Albert Caraco, a thinker who had a lot to say about the impact of technology on our lives. Caraco's ideas offer us a unique lens to examine how our reliance on technology, especially social media, is transforming the way we live, the way we connect, and most importantly, the way we feel about ourselves. He didn't just see technology as a neutral tool. He warned that it's becoming a driving force that's reshaping human identity, relationships, and our overall well-being. So, what does that mean for us in today's fast-paced, always-on world? Can we still live authentically, or have we lost touch with what truly matters? We're about to explore how technology, when left unchecked, can do more harm than good, creating a digital facade that disconnects us from reality. But don't worry, we're not just talking about the problem. We're also offering practical solutions. You'll learn how to reclaim control over your life, reconnect with others in meaningful ways, and ensure that technology serves you, not the other way around. Before we get started, if you're enjoying the thought-provoking content and want to stay connected with us, make sure to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means everything. And hey, if you want to go the extra mile and help us create even more amazing content, consider sending a super thanks to show your appreciation. Now, let's dive into how technology is changing our lives and how we can take back control. Let's get started. In today's digital age, many individuals find themselves questioning their place in an ever-evolving world. Are you lost in the digital age? This simple question, asked at the outset, invites the viewer to reflect on their own relationship with technology. The rapid advancements in the digital world, particularly the rise of social media, have undeniably changed the way we communicate, interact, and even understand ourselves. Yet, with these changes come feelings of confusion and disconnection for many. This feeling of being lost in a world that increasingly revolves around technology is not new, but Albert Caraco's philosophy offers a unique lens through which to examine this struggle. Albert Caraco was a philosopher who, though not widely known, held profound insights about the impact of modern technology on human society. His work revolves around the idea that society, especially in its modern form, has become increasingly alienated from its deeper, more authentic aspects. Caraco's views on technology are not just critiques of the digital world we live in, but also an exploration of the broader implications of technological advancements on our lives and relationships. By delving into his thoughts, we begin to understand how deeply intertwined our personal lives have become with the virtual world, and how, for many, this is a source of profound discontent. The question of whether we are losing ourselves in the digital age isn't merely rhetorical. It invites introspection. With every new notification on our phones, every post we like, and every status update we share, we contribute to a new form of self-presentation. But at what cost? Are we still engaging with the world authentically? Or have we allowed the technological structures around us to dictate our sense of self-worth and connection to others? At the core of Caraco's philosophy lies a critique of the disconnect between human beings and their natural surroundings, a disconnect that he believed had been amplified by technology. He warned against the way in which modern society tends to prioritize superficial connections over genuine human interaction. In his writings, Caraco posited that technological progress, while seemingly beneficial, often results in alienation rather than connection. The tools that were supposed to help bring humanity together are instead distancing us from the very essence of human experience. One of Caraco's most compelling observations is that the digital world, with its constant stream of information, can lead to an overwhelming sense of disorientation. In the past, people had a clearer sense of identity, grounded in real-world interactions and experiences. Today, however, many struggle with defining who they truly are in a world where identity is often shaped more by online personas than by the way one lives and interacts in the physical world. We have moved from a reality where our relationships and identities were shaped by face-to-face conversations to one where they are mediated by digital platforms, apps, and algorithms that prioritize likes, shares, and followers over real emotional connections. To understand this disconnection, consider the example of social media. Platforms like Instagram and Facebook have revolutionized the way we communicate, allowing us to stay in touch with people across the globe. However, this digital communication often feels empty. The messages are short, the interactions fleeting, and the sense of being understood is diminished. A person may have hundreds or even thousands of friends on social media, but they can still feel profoundly alone. This is the paradox that Caraco foresaw. Technology brings us together in one sense, but isolates us in another. Take, for instance, the common experience of scrolling through Instagram or Facebook. Many of us are familiar with the cycle. We browse through pictures, read captions, and consume other people's lives, feeling both connected and disconnected at the same time. On the surface, we are engaging with others, but these interactions are often shallow. We rarely get a glimpse into the true lives of others. We only see the curated, filtered versions of their existence. This leads to a distortion of reality, where we compare our authentic, unfiltered lives to the idealized versions presented on our screens. Over time, this creates a sense of inadequacy, leading us to question our own worth and place in the world. Albert Caraco's insights push us to question the nature of these digital relationships. Are we truly connected with others, or are we simply observing their lives from a distance, participating in a virtual version of life that lacks depth and meaning? Caraco believed that the advent of technology has fundamentally altered how we interact with one another. Instead of cultivating real, meaningful relationships, we have substituted them with fleeting online encounters. This shift has not only impacted our social lives, but also our mental and emotional well-being. Caraco's philosophy also touches on the implications of technological development on individual freedom. In his writings, he argued that technology, while offering convenience and connectivity, also comes with a heavy price: the erosion of personal autonomy. In the digital age, we are constantly being surveilled, our data collected, and our preferences analyzed by corporations seeking to monetize every aspect of our lives. As we become more dependent on digital tools and platforms, we unknowingly surrender more and more of our personal freedom. The very devices that were supposed to enhance our lives often serve as subtle instruments of control, subtly shaping our behavior, desires, and even our opinions. Consider how our daily routines have changed due to technology. How often do we check our phones in a day? How frequently do we find ourselves compelled to respond to messages, emails, or social media notifications, even when we're in the middle of a conversation or a task? This constant need for digital engagement interrupts our real-world interactions and, in doing so, diminishes the quality of our personal relationships. We may have hundreds of people following us on social media, but we lack the deep, personal connections that once came from face-to-face encounters. This shift in how we interact with the world is not just a matter of convenience. It's a matter of identity. Our digital personas often become more important to us than our physical selves. The person we present online can be crafted and perfected, while our real-world selves may feel fragmented or imperfect in comparison. The pressure to maintain a perfect image online leads to anxiety, insecurity, and an overall sense of disconnection from our authentic selves. In this context, Caraco's philosophy provides us with a warning. As we immerse ourselves deeper into the digital world, we risk losing touch with our true identity and humanity. Technology, while providing us with new ways to communicate and connect, also isolates us from the very experiences that make us human. The question that Caraco asks is not just whether technology can enhance our lives, but whether it is fundamentally altering the way we live, think, and relate to one another. The idea that we are being pulled into an artificial world of virtual interactions at the cost of real-world connections is particularly relevant today. With the rise of artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and other emerging technologies, we are increasingly living in a world where the line between the real and the virtual is becoming increasingly blurred. As we move forward into this new digital frontier, it is essential that we pause and consider the implications of these changes on our personal and collective well-being. Are we truly connecting with one another, or are we merely participating in a digital simulation of life? And if the latter, what are we sacrificing in the process? In conclusion, Albert Caraco's philosophy offers a sobering reflection on the role of technology in our lives. It calls us to examine how digital tools and platforms shape our relationships, identities, and freedoms. By questioning the pervasive influence of technology, Caraco urges us to seek a deeper, more authentic connection with the world around us. In an age where the virtual and the real are increasingly intertwined, his insights offer a timely reminder to be mindful of the impact of technology on our lives and to strive for a balance that allows us to remain true to ourselves in the face of an increasingly digital world. In the modern era, the line between the real world and the virtual world has become increasingly blurred. With the rapid rise of technology, particularly social media, we are constantly caught between two realms: the tangible, physical world around us and the intangible, digital environment that surrounds us on our screens. This dual existence can be overwhelming, leaving many wondering where the boundary lies. As we become more reliant on digital platforms for communication, entertainment, and socializing, handshakes and shared moments in the same space has been replaced by a vast, interconnected digital space that allows us to communicate instantly with people all over the world. Social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter allow us to build connections, share moments, and form relationships at the click of a button. However, despite these apparent benefits, the digital world often leaves us with a sense of emptiness, as we find that these interactions, while numerous, tend to lack the depth and emotional resonance of real-world experiences. One of the most striking aspects of the digital world is the way it alters our relationships with others. In the past, relationships were built through direct, personal interaction. The nuances of voice, body language, and physical presence played a huge role in forming meaningful connections. Today, however, we rely on text messages, emojis, and quick comments to communicate. The immediacy of digital communication has undoubtedly made it easier to stay in touch with others, but has also made our interactions more surface level. We may exchange hundreds of messages in a day, but the lack of personal contact makes it difficult to form genuine, long-lasting bonds. Take, for instance, the way we interact with friends on social media. It's common to see people sharing updates about their lives, posting pictures, and commenting on each other's posts. At first glance, it might seem like we're maintaining close relationships, but in reality, many of these interactions are shallow and lack real emotional depth. A like on a photo or a brief comment is often seen as an acceptable substitute for an actual conversation. But these small gestures don't provide the same emotional connection as a heartfelt conversation over coffee or a hug from a friend. While we may feel that we are connecting with others, the truth is that these connections are often fleeting, and the intimacy that comes from personal interactions is missing. This phenomenon is especially evident in the context of romantic relationships. Online dating apps and social media have created new ways for people to meet and connect, but they have also introduced new challenges. It's not uncommon for individuals to form what appear to be meaningful connections online, only to find that these relationships struggle to translate into the real world. The digital realm allows people to present carefully curated versions of themselves, where flaws and imperfections are hidden behind carefully chosen photos and posts. In contrast, face-to-face interactions expose our true selves, including the insecurities, awkwardness, and vulnerability that come with being human. As a result, the deeper emotional bonds that come from shared experiences and vulnerability in real-world interactions are often lacking in online relationships. Moreover, the digital world can create a false sense of intimacy. The ease with which we can reach out to others at any time through text messages, social media comments, or direct messages can make us feel as though we are deeply connected to those we interact with. However, this digital communication often lacks the richness of real-life conversation. We may find ourselves sending dozens of texts or social media messages throughout the day, but at the end of the conversation, we are left with a sense of emptiness. The digital medium can never fully replicate the emotional resonance of a conversation in person, where the tone of voice, body language, and shared environment create a more complete experience of connection. The issue of loneliness in the digital age is another important aspect of this discussion. Despite being more connected than ever before, many people report feeling more isolated than ever. A paradox exists. We are constantly online, scrolling through our feeds, liking photos, and commenting on posts, yet we feel disconnected from those around us. The rise of social media has created a culture where people compare their lives to those of others, often leading to feelings of inadequacy, envy, and loneliness. We see curated versions of other people's lives, where everything appears perfect, and we start to question why our own lives don't measure up. This comparison culture fosters an environment of disconnection, as we feel that we are failing to live up to the standards set by others, leading to increased isolation and dissatisfaction with our own lives. Consider the example of Facebook, where we can see an endless stream of updates from friends, family, and acquaintances. People post pictures of their vacations, their family gatherings, and their achievements. While this can be a way to celebrate the happiness of others, it often leads to a feeling of alienation for those who feel their lives don't match up to the seemingly perfect lives they see online. This sense of inadequacy can lead to social withdrawal, as people retreat further into their own worlds, feeling disconnected from the reality that others seem to be enjoying. The digital world, in its attempt to connect people, often leaves them feeling more isolated and distant than ever. The impact of technology on emotional well-being is also evident in the way it shapes our expectations of relationships. In the past, people understood that relationships required time, effort, and patience. Friendships and romantic relationships developed gradually, built on shared experiences and face-to-face interactions. Today, however, the pace of communication has accelerated. We expect immediate responses to messages, instant updates on social media, and rapid gratification. This instant gratification culture can make it difficult to build meaningful relationships, as the pressure to respond quickly and constantly be available leads to a lack of emotional depth and connection. Relationships are no longer given the time and space to grow naturally. Instead, they are shaped by the demands of technology and the expectations of immediate communication. In addition to the emotional toll, there are also cognitive consequences to living in a world dominated by technology. The constant influx of information from digital sources, whether through social media, news apps, or other platforms, can lead to information overload. This overload can make it difficult to focus on any one thing for an extended period of time, leading to decreased attention spans and a diminished capacity for deep, reflective thought. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with new information, it becomes increasingly difficult to focus on the things that matter most, such as meaningful relationships and personal growth. The virtual world, for all its benefits, has its drawbacks. It offers instant connection, but it often comes at the cost of real, meaningful interaction. Social media platforms can help us maintain a sense of connection, but they cannot replace the depth of a face-to-face conversation or the emotional resonance of a shared experience. The challenge, then, is to find a balance between the two worlds. To use technology as a tool for connection, but not to allow it to replace the rich, fulfilling relationships that can only be formed through personal interaction. In a world that increasingly values convenience and speed, it is important to remember that some of the most meaningful experiences in life are the ones that take time and effort to cultivate. The impact of technology on communication is both profound and complex, shaping the way we express ourselves, interact with others, and ultimately understand the truth. With the advent of social media platforms, smartphones, and digital technologies, our daily interactions have become increasingly mediated by screens. This digital mediation has introduced a paradox where communication is more instant and accessible than ever before, yet the authenticity of those interactions has often been compromised. Technology has given rise to a new form of communication that is not always based on reality, but is instead influenced by carefully curated representations of the self. These representations often differ drastically from the real-life versions of those same individuals, creating a significant gap between the person as portrayed online and the person as they are in reality. The phenomenon of self-presentation through digital platforms, particularly social media, has become so ingrained in modern life that many of us rarely stop to question the authenticity of the content we engage with. On platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, users have the ability to selectively share aspects of their lives that fit into a particular narrative. The digital world encourages people to present their lives as polished, perfect versions of themselves, devoid of the flaws, imperfections, and complexities that characterize human experience. This pursuit of perfection often results in a carefully constructed persona that bears little resemblance to the person behind the screen. Consider the example of Instagram influencers, a category of individuals whose livelihood depends on their ability to create and maintain an idealized online presence. These influencers curate their images and messages to project a life of luxury, beauty, and success. Every photo is meticulously staged, every caption carefully crafted to ensure the right tone and appeal. The result is a seemingly flawless representation of their life that leaves little room for vulnerability or imperfection. But what happens when the camera is turned off and the filters are removed? The reality often falls far short of the image presented online. These influencers, like all of us, experience the same struggles, insecurities, and failures that come with being human. However, these aspects of their lives are seldom shared with their followers. Instead, the public-facing version is one of constant achievement and perfection, which creates a false narrative about what it means to live a successful or fulfilling life. This false representation of self extends beyond influencers and celebrities to include everyday individuals who participate in social media platforms. It's common to see people post pictures of themselves at their best, during vacations, at social events, or at moments of apparent success. Yet, these posts rarely reflect the full spectrum of their lives. What is often left out are the struggles, the mundane moments, and the insecurities that everyone experiences. Social media encourages users to present their best selves and, in doing so, to conceal the reality of who they are. This selective sharing creates a skewed perception of life, where it may appear that others are constantly happy, successful, or beautiful, while in reality, they're dealing with the same challenges and imperfections as everyone else. The effect of this online persona is that it shifts the way we perceive both ourselves and others. When we compare our own unfiltered lives to the curated versions of others' lives on social media, it's easy to feel inadequate. The image of the perfect life, flawless skin, perfect relationships, constant happiness becomes the standard by which we measure our own worth. This can lead to a cycle of comparison and self-doubt, where we begin to believe that our own lives, with all their messiness and imperfections, are somehow less valuable or less worthy of attention. The comparison trap is especially dangerous because it can make us forget the inherent worth of simply being ourselves, without the need for validation from others or the pressure to meet unattainable standards. Take, for example, the phenomenon of selfie culture. The act of taking selfies, capturing one's image at a particular moment, and sharing it with the world has become a ubiquitous form of self-expression. However, the way we present ourselves in selfies is often a far cry from our true selves. Many people go to great lengths to ensure that their selfies are perfect, carefully choosing the right lighting, angle, and filter. The result is an image that is an exaggeration or even a distortion of reality. The person in the selfie is not the person in their everyday life, but a version of themselves that they have carefully crafted to meet social expectations. For instance, it's common for people to use filters that smooth out their skin, brighten their eyes, and enhance their features. While this can make a photo more aesthetically pleasing, it also creates an unrealistic standard of beauty that is unattainable in real life. The same applies to photos of food, vacations, and achievements, which are often shared on social media. The photos look glamorous, but the truth behind them is often far less glamorous. The meal may have been hastily prepared, the vacation may have been rushed, and the achievement may have come after many failures. These details are often omitted in favor of presenting a picture-perfect version of the experience. This disconnection between the digital persona and the real self can have profound consequences on both individual and societal levels. On an individual level, the pressure to maintain a curated online presence can lead to feelings of anxiety, insecurity, and self-doubt. People may begin to feel that their lives are not as interesting, fulfilling, or meaningful as the lives they see online. This can lead to a sense of inadequacy and a constant desire to keep up with others, even if it means sacrificing authenticity in the process. On a societal level, the widespread prevalence of these idealized digital personas has created a culture that prioritizes appearance and superficiality over substance and authenticity. We are increasingly living in a world where people are judged not by who they truly are, but by the image they project online. This creates an environment where success is often measured in likes, followers, and shares rather than in real-world accomplishments or personal growth. The obsession with building a perfect online image has led to a society where authenticity is undervalued, and people are encouraged to present a version of themselves that is detached from reality. Moreover, this detachment from reality can have significant consequences for our mental health. Studies have shown that the constant exposure to idealized versions of other people's lives on social media can contribute to feelings of loneliness, depression, and anxiety. When we compare ourselves to the curated images of others, we often forget that these images are not a reflection of their true selves, but rather a carefully constructed version designed to garner attention and approval. This disconnect between the online self and the real self can leave us feeling isolated and disconnected, even as we are connected to others through our devices. In relationships, this culture of curated self-presentation can also have negative effects. When we present a filtered, idealized version of ourselves to others, we set unrealistic expectations for the relationships we form. We may find ourselves attracted to others based on the image they project online, only to be disappointed when their true selves don't match up to the carefully curated persona. This can create a sense of disillusionment and frustration in relationships, as we come to realize that the person we're interacting with is not who we thought they were. The pursuit of an idealized, perfected version of oneself online also encourages a kind of disconnection from the real world. As we spend more time curating our online identities, we spend less time engaging in genuine, face-to-face interactions with the people around us. We become so focused on presenting a flawless image that we forget to embrace the messy, imperfect, and real aspects of life that make us human. True connection comes from embracing vulnerability and imperfection, Yet technology often encourages us to hide these aspects of ourselves in favor of presenting a polished, flawless image. This phenomenon is not confined to individuals on social media platforms. Brands, companies, and even public figures engage in similar forms of self-presentation, curating their public images to appeal to consumers, followers, or voters. The messages they send are often carefully constructed to convey a sense of success, happiness, or trustworthiness, even if these qualities are not reflective of the reality behind the brand. This creates an environment where we are constantly surrounded by images of perfection and success, leading us to forget that true success is often built on failure, struggle, and hard work. Ultimately, the impact of technology on our sense of truth and authenticity is undeniable. The curated, filtered images we present online often bear little resemblance to who we are in reality, creating a disconnect between the digital persona and the real self. This disconnect has profound implications for our mental health, our relationships, and our understanding of what it means to live an authentic life. As we continue to navigate the digital age, it is important to remember that true connection and authenticity come not from the image we project online, but from the genuine, imperfect relationships we cultivate in the real world. The challenge is to find a balance between our online selves and our real-world selves, ensuring that we remain true to who we are, regardless of the pressure to conform to digital ideals. In today's world, social media has become an intrinsic part of daily life for millions of people worldwide. It promises to connect us to our friends, families, and even strangers across the globe, creating a sense of community and belonging at our fingertips. The very idea of social media seems to imply that these platforms are meant to bring people together. Yet, despite this constant connectivity, there is a paradox that many of us experience. The more time we spend on social media, the more isolated we often feel. While social media has revolutionized the way we communicate, it has simultaneously introduced a new form of loneliness that many are struggling to understand and address. The feeling of loneliness is no longer simply about physical isolation. It's now about the lack of emotional connection that comes from digital interactions. The core of this issue lies in the distinction between surface-level connections and meaningful relationships. Social media platforms, such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, are designed to foster rapid communication and interaction. With just a few taps or clicks, users can send messages, post photos, comment on each other's lives, and interact with content from friends, family, and acquaintances. In theory, this constant stream of communication should make people feel more connected. After all, if you have thousands of friends or followers online, doesn't that mean you're never truly alone? Sadly, the answer is often no. Take, for example, the experience of a young person spending several hours each day on social media, scrolling through their feeds, liking pictures, and responding to posts. On the surface, this person might appear socially engaged. They are interacting with many different people, receiving likes and comments, and sharing moments from their life. Yet despite this digital activity, they still experience a deep sense of loneliness. The problem lies not in the quantity of interactions, but in their quality. Social media interactions tend to be shallow likes, shares, comments, and emojis often replace real conversations. The connections made online are often one-dimensional, providing only a glimpse into someone's life without the depth that comes with meaningful, in-person interactions. This form of loneliness is particularly evident among younger generations who have grown up immersed in the digital world. For them, social media is often the primary mode of communication, and they may have thousands of online connections. However, despite their vast network, many still report feelings of isolation and emotional detachment. This is especially true for individuals who rely heavily on social media for validation, often using it as a measure of their worth. The constant cycle of posting, waiting for likes, and comparing oneself to others can create a toxic environment that exacerbates feelings of inadequacy and loneliness. The illusion of connection that social media creates is a major contributor to this phenomenon. Unlike traditional forms of communication, which involve face-to-face interaction, social media provides a filtered, edited version of reality. People post carefully curated images and updates that reflect the highlights of their lives' vacations, celebrations, accomplishments. While this can give the impression of a connected, fulfilling life, it often leaves out the more mundane, challenging, or emotional aspects of living. The result is a skewed perception of reality, where users may feel that everyone else is leading a perfect life, while their own is filled with struggles and imperfections. A real-world example of this dynamic can be seen in the experience of a college student who spends hours on Instagram, scrolling through posts and seeing images of friends enjoying life vacations, parties, and group outings. Meanwhile, the student, sitting alone in their dorm room, feels disconnected from the vibrant social lives they see online. Despite being connected to hundreds, if not thousands, of people on social media, the student feels no deeper emotional connection with any of them. The likes and comments on their posts provide temporary validation, but they do little to alleviate the underlying feelings of loneliness and isolation. This young person may even feel disconnected from their friends, as the interactions on social media are often shallow and lack the emotional depth that comes from face-to-face communication. This sense of disconnection is not unique to young people. Adults, too, experience similar feelings. Even those who are in committed relationships or have close friends can experience loneliness in the digital age. A person may have a partner who is active on social media, constantly posting about their day, their achievements, and their experiences. Yet, despite the apparent connection, the person may feel emotionally distant from their partner. The reality is that while social media provides a window into someone's life, it doesn't offer the same kind of emotional intimacy that comes from shared experiences and meaningful, real-world conversations. The emotional depth of a relationship cannot be captured in a tweet, a Facebook post, or a filtered selfie. One of the reasons social media fosters such loneliness is the way it encourages a false sense of social validation. In the digital world, people often gauge their worth by the number of likes, shares, and comments they receive. This can lead to a constant need for external validation, which is never truly satisfying. While the initial rush of getting likes or positive comments can feel rewarding, it is fleeting. This constant cycle of seeking validation from others can leave individuals feeling unfulfilled, as they rely on external approval rather than cultivating internal self-worth. Moreover, the comparison culture on social media can make individuals feel like they're not measuring up to the curated, idealized lives they see online. This sense of inadequacy can deepen feelings of loneliness, as people believe that they're the only ones struggling while others seem to have it all together. This loneliness is further compounded by the phenomenon of social comparison, which is particularly prevalent on platforms like Instagram and Facebook. Users often compare their lives to the edited, filtered versions of others' lives that they see online. For example, someone might see a friend posting about their amazing vacation or their perfectly organized home, and feel as though their own life is lacking in comparison. This constant comparison can lead to feelings of low self-esteem, which only deepens the sense of loneliness. It creates a divide between the ideal life portrayed online and the real life that people experience, leaving them feeling disconnected and out of touch with their true selves. A practical example of this can be seen in the use of Instagram. People post pictures of their vacations, meals, and celebrations, presenting an image of happiness and success. But behind those posts are the everyday struggles that are rarely shared. A person scrolling through their feed might feel envious of others' seemingly perfect lives, not realizing that the photos they see are only a small, curated slice of the full picture. This distorted view of reality can lead to loneliness because it makes individuals feel as though they're the only ones experiencing difficult or less glamorous moments. Another example is the experience of a person who spends hours each day scrolling through social media, checking updates from friends, colleagues, and family members. They might like posts and leave comments, but there is no real connection in those interactions. They may even interact with these people more than they do in real life, yet still feel like something is missing. The digital connection fails to replace the emotional and physical closeness that is found in face-to-face interactions. The person may have hundreds of virtual friends, but no one to truly confide in or spend time with in a meaningful way. The key issue with social media is that it fosters a type of communication that is inherently shallow and performative. It encourages users to present curated versions of themselves, creating an image that is disconnected from reality. This can make it difficult to form real, deep connections. As people begin to view each other through the lens of social media profiles rather than as whole, complex individuals, the need to present a perfect image, to constantly measure up to others, and to receive external validation can create a sense of emotional emptiness that digital interactions cannot fulfill. In conclusion, the rise of social media and digital platforms has undoubtedly changed the way we connect with others, but has also introduced a new form of loneliness. Despite having thousands of online connections, many people still feel isolated and emotionally distant. The disconnect between the digital persona and the real self, the reliance on external validation, and the constant comparison to others can all contribute to this sense of loneliness. As social media continues to shape our interactions, it is crucial to recognize the limitations of digital connection and prioritize real, meaningful relationships that provide the emotional depth and intimacy that online interactions cannot. Albert Caraco's critique of modern society, especially in relation to technology, revolves around the idea that while technology offers numerous conveniences and efficiencies, it also poses profound dangers that gradually erode the essence of human life. He suggests that technology is not merely a neutral tool that improves life, but rather it is a pervasive force that shapes our behavior, our interactions, and even our perceptions of reality in ways that ultimately degrade the human experience. In particular, Caraco warns against the growing dependency on digital tools and the resulting loss of genuine, meaningful relationships. These concerns are particularly relevant today, as technology continues to advance at an unprecedented rate, further entangling itself in the fabric of our daily lives. At the core of Caraco's critique is the notion that technology, while offering new ways to communicate, work, and entertain ourselves, also undermines the very things that make life truly meaningful. He argues that, by replacing authentic experiences with digital simulations, we are increasingly disconnected from the core aspects of human existence that give life depth, purpose, and fulfillment. Technology, in this sense, does not enhance life, it often diminishes it, particularly in the realm of human relationships and our ability to engage with the world in an unmediated, direct way. One of the most pressing issues highlighted by Caraco is the profound dependency that has developed around technology. In the past, people navigated the world using their own physical and mental capacities. They communicated face-to-face, built relationships through shared experiences, and interacted with the physical world in ways that were immediate and tangible. Today, however, much of human activity is mediated by technology. We communicate via texts, emails, and social media rather than engaging in real, in-person conversations. We shop online, consume media through streaming platforms, and even form relationships through dating apps. While these technologies have made life more convenient, they have also introduced a troubling disconnect from the real world. This shift has not been without consequences, particularly in the way we relate to others and understand our place in the world. Take, for instance, the way people use smartphones. These devices have become almost indispensable in modern life. We use them to navigate, to communicate, to work, and to entertain ourselves. But as smartphones have become more ubiquitous, they have also made us more dependent on them. We no longer remember phone numbers, as we rely on our devices to store this information for us. We no longer navigate the world with maps or by asking for directions. As GPS technology has taken over, we are constantly checking our phones, responding to notifications, and staying connected to the digital world. This constant engagement with technology means that our minds are constantly occupied, leaving little room for reflection, contemplation, or deep engagement with the world around us. We have traded genuine experiences for digital convenience, and in the process, we have lost something fundamental. Caraco's concern is not just with the technology itself, but with the way it reshapes human priorities and values. When technology becomes the focal point of our lives, it alters how we perceive what is important. We begin to prioritize efficiency, convenience, and speed over depth, authenticity, and human connection. Social media, for example, has introduced a new currency by which social worth is measured: followers, likes, and shares. These metrics have become the yardstick by which we measure the value of our relationships and our personal success. People post carefully curated images of themselves and their lives, seeking approval and validation from their digital audiences. What is often left out is the raw, unfiltered reality of life, the struggles, the imperfections, the moments of vulnerability that make us human. Instead, we are encouraged to present polished versions of ourselves, leading to a shallow form of interaction that lacks real emotional depth. This shift has also led to a decline in face-to-face communication. People spend more time texting or messaging online than engaging in direct, meaningful conversations. The immediacy of digital communication can feel efficient and convenient, but often lacks the nuance and emotional connection that come with in-person interactions. Face-to-face conversations allow for nonverbal cues, body language, tone of voice, eye contact that are essential for understanding the full meaning of a message. These elements are lost in digital communication, which often reduces interactions to short, text-based exchanges that fail to convey the full complexity of human emotion. Moreover, as Caraco points out, technology often encourages isolation rather than connection. While social media platforms purport to connect people, they often create a false sense of intimacy. People may have hundreds or even thousands of friends online, but these connections are often superficial. The relationships formed through social media are typically based on likes, comments, and shares, which are ultimately hollow forms of engagement. While social media allows us to stay in touch with others, it does not replace the need for real, meaningful relationships that require time, effort, and face-to-face communication. The more time we spend interacting online, the less time we spend engaging with the people around us in a meaningful way. This sense of isolation is particularly acute in the context of romantic relationships. Dating apps, for instance, have fundamentally changed the way people meet and form romantic connections. While these apps can help people connect, they also encourage a transactional approach to relationships. Profiles are reduced to a series of photos, bios, and swipes, creating a superficial version of what is supposed to be a deeply personal connection. Instead of forming relationships through shared experiences and emotional intimacy, people often form judgments based on appearance and brief interactions. This can lead to a feeling of disconnection and emotional emptiness, as relationships are reduced to shallow exchanges rather than genuine connections built on trust, vulnerability, and mutual understanding. Another critical aspect of Caraco's critique is the loss of true engagement with the physical world. Technology has made life more convenient, but it has also made it easier to disengage from reality. For example, we can now shop for anything we need from the comfort of our homes, order food with the push of a button, and have any product delivered to our doorstep. This convenience, while beneficial, has also made us less connected to the physical world around us. We no longer need to visit a store or engage with a salesperson in person. We no longer need to cook meals from scratch or spend time preparing food. We can simply rely on digital services to do these things for us. In doing so, we miss out on the richness of the physical experience, the process of walking through a store, choosing products, interacting with people, and cooking a meal. These simple acts, while mundane, contribute to our sense of agency and connection to the world. Technology, by reducing these experiences to clicks and swipes, has made us less engaged with the real world. The most significant cost of this growing dependence on technology is the erosion of authentic human relationships. Caraco argues that technology has facilitated the breakdown of real, personal connections. We are constantly interacting with digital representations of people, photos, texts, posts, rather than with the full complexity of the individuals behind these representations. These digital interactions do not allow for the same level of emotional engagement and empathy that face-to-face interactions do. As a result, we are becoming less capable of forming deep, meaningful relationships with others. We are more connected than ever in terms of the number of people we can communicate with. But this connectivity is superficial and lacks the emotional depth necessary for true human connection. The price we pay for this digital dependency is high. We lose the ability to engage in deep, reflective thought because our minds are constantly distracted by the digital noise around us. We lose the ability to form meaningful, lasting relationships because our interactions are mediated through technology, reducing them to fleeting exchanges. We lose our connection to the real world, as technology encourages us to live in a virtual space that is detached from the physical reality around us. As Caraco warns, the more we rely on technology, the more we lose touch with what truly matters: real human experiences, authentic relationships, and a deep engagement with the world around us. In conclusion, Caraco's critique of technology is both a warning and a call to action. While technology offers many conveniences, it also has a profound impact on our lives, eroding the very things that make life meaningful. The more we depend on technology, the more we risk losing our ability to form real, emotional connections with others, to engage with the world in a meaningful way, and to experience life in its full richness and complexity. To reclaim what has been lost, we must recognize the limitations of technology and strive to engage more deeply with the world around us through real relationships, personal experiences, and a renewed commitment to authenticity. Only then can we begin to reverse the negative effects of our technological dependence. In an age dominated by technology, it's easy to forget the simple yet profound value of living authentically and meaningfully. As digital tools continue to weave themselves into nearly every aspect of our lives, from work to relationships to leisure, we risk losing touch with the world around us, becoming slaves to the very devices that were meant to serve us. The challenge of navigating this digital age is not to reject technology outright, but to find a way to use it without letting it control us. Carving out space for real, unmediated human connection, and reclaiming time for personal reflection are essential steps in facing this reality. Technology, while helpful, can also be a barrier to living in the present moment. And it's crucial to recognize when it starts to interfere with meaningful engagement with the world and people we care about. One of the most effective ways to confront the increasing dependence on technology is to foster real-life connections. While it's easy to rely on social media for interaction, responding to texts, liking posts, or commenting on photos, these interactions often lack the depth and authenticity that comes from face-to-face communication. Caraco highlights the importance of direct human interaction, where body language, tone of voice, and shared experiences create a richer, more fulfilling connection. It's easy to forget the richness of a conversation when we're accustomed to the quick, ephemeral nature of digital exchanges, where meaning can be lost in translation. Conversations held in person offer the opportunity to engage fully with others, to hear the nuances in their voices, to read their facial expressions, and to experience the dynamic nature of communication that cannot be replicated on a screen. For example, think about the difference between texting a friend and having an in-person conversation. In a text message, it's easy to misunderstand tone or intent. A simple okay could be interpreted as indifference, or it could be a casual acknowledgement. Without the context of body language or voice inflection, texts often leave too much room for ambiguity. On the other hand, when having a face-to-face conversation, there's an immediate feedback loop. You can see if the person is interested, understand the emotional weight of their words, and address any misunderstandings on the spot. Real conversations build rapport and deepen bonds in ways that digital communication cannot. In the context of romantic relationships, the importance of in-person interaction becomes even more critical. Relationships built primarily through text or social media are often stunted by the lack of emotional depth that face-to-face meetings can provide. Imagine being in a relationship where the majority of your communication happens via messages or social media posts. Sure, you might exchange "I love you" S and "Good morning" S, but without the richness of a physical presence, the connection can feel empty. The spontaneous, unplanned moments, shared laughs, touches, and glances are lost in the digital realm. By prioritizing face-to-face communication, relationships can become more genuine, grounded in real-life experiences rather than curated digital personas. Equally important is the ability to disconnect from technology. One of the most effective strategies for reclaiming authenticity in life is creating deliberate technology-free zones. This doesn't mean abandoning technology altogether, but it involves setting boundaries that allow for more meaningful interactions and self-reflection. For instance, designating specific times during the day when you turn off your phone or avoid using screens can help to break the constant cycle of digital distractions. By doing so, you create space to reconnect with your thoughts, your environment, and the people around you. Consider the practice of digital detox. For example, taking one day a week, such as a tech-free Sunday, where you refrain from checking emails, scrolling through social media, or engaging with any devices, can be incredibly liberating. This break from the constant influx of information allows you to focus on the present, whether it's spending time with loved ones, indulging in a hobby, or simply reflecting on your thoughts without the pressure to respond to messages or notifications. Such moments of pause are essential for restoring balance, especially in a world that constantly demands our attention. Taking a step back from technology allows for deeper connection with our surroundings. Whether it's enjoying a walk in the park without a phone in hand or engaging in a long, uninterrupted conversation with a friend, these moments of undistracted presence help to restore our emotional well-being. There's something deeply human about disconnecting from the digital world and experiencing life as it unfolds in real time. This approach to living enables us to be more present, to experience life in its fullness, without the filters or distractions of digital devices. Another practical strategy for combating the overuse of technology is the practice of mindful technology use. Mindfulness is the act of being fully present in the moment. And when applied to our relationship with technology, it means being aware of how and when we use it, rather than mindlessly scrolling through social media or checking emails every few minutes. Mindfulness encourages us to be intentional about our digital habits. For example, before picking up your phone, pause and ask yourself why you are reaching for it. Are you truly needing to connect with someone, or are you simply filling a void of boredom or anxiety? By being mindful of our tech usage, we can better manage the impact it has on our lives, ensuring that it serves us rather than taking over. Mindful technology use also includes taking control over notifications. Many people feel compelled to respond to every notification immediately, whether it's a text message, a social media alert, or an email. However, this constant barrage of interruptions can lead to heightened stress and decreased productivity. Setting boundaries for how often you check your phone or adjusting notification settings to prioritize what truly matters can help reclaim control over your time and attention. This can make the time you do spend online more purposeful and intentional, rather than mindlessly scrolling through content that adds little value to your life. Reclaiming authenticity also means embracing moments of solitude. In a world where we're constantly surrounded by information, entertainment, and constant interaction, solitude offers an opportunity to reconnect with our own thoughts and emotions. Spending time alone without the distraction of technology allows us to reflect on who we are, what we want, and where we're headed. It's easy to get caught up in the noise of the digital world, but silence has a unique way of fostering self-awareness. Taking a break from technology to spend time alone, whether it's through journaling, meditation, or simply sitting in quiet contemplation, can provide clarity and restore a sense of balance. Another key strategy for living authentically in the digital age is to cultivate deeper, more meaningful relationships offline. As we've seen, online interactions, while convenient, often lack the depth of face-to-face communication. To counter this, it's crucial to invest time and energy into building relationships that are grounded in real-life experiences. This means prioritizing in-person meetings over texting, sharing meals together, and creating shared memories that digital interactions can't replicate. By doing so, we create a network of support and connection that is built on trust, shared experience, and vulnerability qualities that are difficult to achieve through digital platforms alone. Ultimately, living authentically in a world dominated by technology requires intentionality and effort. It's easy to become complacent, letting technology dictate how we live and relate to others. However, by making conscious decisions to engage more deeply with the people around us, by creating boundaries for technology use, and by prioritizing real, in-person interactions, we can reclaim the richness and depth of human connection. Technology should serve us, not control us. When used mindfully, it can enhance our lives. But when it becomes a crutch, replacing the truly meaningful experiences that make life worth living, it becomes a barrier to authenticity and genuine connection. Reconnecting with the real world, finding moments of stillness, and building relationships that are not mediated by screens are all essential steps in facing the challenges of the digital age. While technology is an invaluable tool, it is vital that we remember its limitations. Life is lived not through our devices, but in the real moments we share with those around us and the connections we make in the world we inhabit. By stepping back, taking control of our digital habits, and embracing the fullness of life beyond screens, we can create a more balanced and fulfilling existence. Albert Caraco's philosophical outlook on a modern world remains one of the most compelling critiques of the impact of technology on human life. While many contemporary thinkers view technology as an inherently positive force for progress and development, Caraco's perspective shines a critical light on the societal consequences of our increasing dependence on digital tools and platforms. His critique is rooted in a deep understanding of how technology reshapes human relationships, undermines authentic experiences, and alters the very nature of existence. At its core, Caraco's philosophy questions whether the technological advancements that promise connection, efficiency, and convenience are worth the trade-offs in terms of human authenticity and emotional well-being. One of Caraco's primary concerns is the way technology disconnects individuals from genuine human experience, often substituting depth and meaning with convenience and speed. As we continue to embed technology into every aspect of our lives, we risk losing sight of the essential human experiences that give life depth. Real-world, face-to-face interactions, personal reflection, and the raw, unfiltered emotional connections that are vital to our psychological and emotional health. While Caraco's critique is often seen as a warning against the dangers of excessive technological dependence, it also opens up a dialogue about the need for balance. Technology, Caraco suggests, can offer valuable tools for progress and connectivity, but only if used intentionally and with full awareness of its limitations. In considering the modern landscape of technology, it's impossible to ignore the role of social media platforms, which Caraco may have seen as emblematic of this broader issue. the very platforms designed to foster human connection, such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and even newer networks like TikTok have become ubiquitous in modern life, serving as primary means of communication for people around the world. They enable us to reconnect with old friends, keep in touch with family members across great distances, and stay updated on the lives of people we may not otherwise interact with in person. This aspect of technology is undeniably positive. Social media allows for a new kind of connection, one that transcends physical boundaries and brings people together from different cultures, backgrounds, and geographies. However, Caraco's critique highlights a paradox within these platforms. While they facilitate new forms of connection, they also promote a superficial kind of engagement that leaves us feeling more isolated. This phenomenon is particularly noticeable when we consider how social media encourages a curated version of life, one where only the highlights are shared, and the less glamorous aspects of life are hidden behind filters or left unsaid. The result is that social media often becomes a platform not for real connection, but for comparison. People constantly compare their own lives to the idealized versions they see online, whether it's pictures of vacations, celebrations, or professional achievements. The more we compare ourselves to these often unrealistic portrayals of life, the more inadequate and disconnected we feel. Take, for example, the rise of influencers on platforms like Instagram. These individuals have created lucrative careers by cultivating an image of perfection, carefully selected photos, expertly crafted captions, and a lifestyle that seems free of struggle or imperfection. The reality behind these images, however, is often much more complex and mundane. Yet, for many users, this curated image becomes the standard by which they measure their own success and happiness. The more time spent on these platforms, the more individuals may feel a sense of loneliness or dissatisfaction with their own lives. Despite the sheer number of connections on these platforms, hundreds, if not thousands of followers, these interactions rarely offer the emotional depth of a real conversation with a close friend or family member. The human need for meaningful interaction cannot be met by likes, shares, or emojis. This is where Caraco's warning becomes most poignant. The more we rely on these digital connections, the more disconnected we become from the real, physical world and the relationships that truly matter. While social media can help people reconnect with old friends or acquaintances, it also encourages a form of detachment from those relationships. An online conversation, for example, is no substitute for the emotional richness of an in-person discussion, where body language, tone of voice, and spontaneous moments play a crucial role in creating understanding and empathy. For all its drawbacks, technology is not inherently negative. Social media, for instance, can serve as a powerful tool for keeping in touch, sharing important news, and even finding communities of people who share similar interests or struggles. It allows people to access information and engage with others in ways that were unimaginable just a few decades ago. However, as Caraco suggests, the key lies not in rejecting technology altogether, but in learning to use it mindfully and intentionally. The danger lies not in the technology itself, but in our relationship with it. This brings us to the crucial point Caraco makes about the need to master technology rather than allowing it to master us. One of the most pressing challenges of the digital age is the pervasive sense that technology is not just a tool, but a force that controls our time, attention, and even our emotions. We live in an age of constant digital interruptions, push notifications, emails, social media updates, and the endless scroll of information. It is easy to feel as though we are being constantly pulled in multiple directions, unable to focus on the things that truly matter. Our phones, our computers, and our social media platforms often demand more attention than we are willing to give, leaving us feeling overwhelmed, distracted, and disconnected from the present moment. Caraco's call to master technology speaks to the importance of setting boundaries and being intentional in how we engage with digital tools. This means taking conscious steps to reduce the impact of technology on our lives. For instance, Many people find themselves checking their phones automatically as soon as they wake up in the morning or right before going to bed at night. This constant engagement with screens can disrupt sleep, reduce productivity, and make it harder to stay present in the moment. One solution is to implement intentional breaks from technology, such as designating certain times of the day for phone-free activities or creating tech-free zones in the home where family members can engage without distractions. These small changes can help restore balance and prevent technology from overtaking our lives. Another aspect of mastering technology is recognizing its limitations. While digital tools can facilitate communication and provide access to information, they are not substitutes for real human interaction. Too often, people confuse quantity with quality. Just because we can message someone instantly or have a video call doesn't mean that the interaction is meaningful or fulfilling. Caraco's philosophy encourages us to recognize the difference between the digital noise we consume daily and the deeper, more enriching conversations we have with those around us. Instead of focusing on maintaining a large number of digital connections, we should prioritize relationships that provide emotional fulfillment and depth. This may involve spending less time on social media and more time in person with people who matter most. For example, consider the practice of turning off notifications for non-urgent apps or setting a limit on how long you spend on social media each day. By being more intentional about how we use technology, we take control of our time and attention, rather than letting digital platforms control us. Moreover, it's important to remember that the human connection we seek cannot be found in digital spaces alone. While technology can help us maintain relationships, it cannot replace the emotional depth that comes from being physically present with others, whether that's sitting down for a meal together, having an unhurried conversation, or sharing experiences in real time. As Caraco's philosophy reminds us, technology should enhance our lives, not define them. The modern world offers us unprecedented opportunities to connect, create, and learn, but it also comes with serious challenges that we must confront. In a world that is increasingly mediated by technology, the most important task is to retain our humanity. This means recognizing when technology is serving us and when it is undermining our capacity to connect with others and with ourselves. By mastering technology, setting boundaries, and focusing on real, authentic relationships, we can navigate the digital age without losing sight of what makes life truly meaningful. In a modern digital age, the intersection of technology and daily life presents both profound opportunities and significant challenges. We are living in an era where technology has become both a tool and a necessity, influencing virtually every aspect of how we communicate, work, and relate to others. At the same time, as we embrace the benefits of digital innovation, we must also confront the growing risks associated with overdependence on technology. The promise of instant connection and convenience offered by social media, smartphones, and other digital platforms often comes with unintended consequences, chief among them a loss of genuine human connection, personal disconnection, and a distorted sense of self. It's easy to get caught in the cycle of comparison, validation seeking, and superficial interactions that these technologies foster. In such a world, the challenge lies in finding a way to live authentically, meaningfully, and purposefully. One of the most important lessons to learn in today's digital landscape is to embrace the concept of authenticity. In a world where social media platforms reward perfection and curation, it's essential not to let these artificial representations of life define our value. Platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok often show the highlights of life, the carefully crafted moments, the trips, the celebrations, the perfect meals, and flawless appearances. While these platforms may help us stay connected to friends and family or entertain us, they also encourage a skewed perception of reality. The polished images shared online do not reflect the full complexity of human experience, our struggles, our moments of doubt, our mundane tasks, or our personal vulnerabilities. It's easy to lose sight of the fact that these images are curated, filtered, and selective. They tell only part of the story, and often, that part is designed to make us feel like we're not measuring up. For example, it's common for people to see posts of friends or acquaintances on social media, showing off their seemingly perfect lives, vacations, career achievements, family milestones, leading to feelings of inadequacy. Why isn't my life like theirs, one might wonder? Comparing the best parts of other people's lives to the more ordinary or complicated moments of their own. However, the lesson here is to remember that the digital world, particularly social media, represents a version of reality that is carefully selected and edited. The reality of life is far messier, more complicated, and far more nuanced than what is portrayed online. It's important not to measure our worth against others' carefully curated images, but to focus on the value of real, meaningful experiences that come from genuine human interactions. Living authentically means disconnecting from the constant pressure to conform to a digital ideal. It's about understanding that your worth doesn't lie in how many followers you have, how many likes you get on a post, or how many people comment on your photos. Instead, it lies in the person you are in real life, your values, your kindness, your actions, and your interactions with those who matter most. Being authentic in a digital age means embracing both the strengths and weaknesses that make you human, not hiding behind filters or digital facades. It's about building connections that are rooted in real experiences and emotions, not just digital exchanges. For instance, think about how much more fulfilling an in-person conversation is compared to an online chat or text message. In real life, you get to see and hear the nuances of someone's expression, tone, and body language, all of which provide valuable context to the words they speak. These interactions are not just about exchanging information, they are about connecting emotionally, forming bonds, and understanding each other in a deep, personal way. By contrast, much of what we communicate online lacks this richness. A tweet or a Facebook post cannot convey the full scope of human experience. In order to live fully in the digital age, we must prioritize these deep, meaningful connections over the digital likes and fleeting online exchanges. The second crucial lesson in this digital era is to prioritize freedom and understanding in our relationships, especially by taking deliberate steps to create balance in our lives. It is easy to get swept up in the demands of constant connectivity, checking emails, scrolling through social media, responding to messages, and staying updated on the latest trends. But the very technology that keeps us connected to the world can also be the same technology that takes us away from what really matters. We are often so consumed by the digital world that we neglect to spend quality time with the people who matter most to us, our family, friends, and loved ones. This brings us to the importance of disconnecting from technology to reconnect with ourselves and others. While technology offers a level of convenience and instant gratification that was previously unimaginable, it also has the potential to foster a sense of isolation and distraction. One of the best ways to find balance is to create boundaries, especially around screen time, and set aside moments in our day to be fully present with the people around us. This could mean having dinner without checking your phone, taking a walk without constantly texting, or setting aside a weekend where you deliberately disconnect from all digital devices. For example, imagine a family sitting together for dinner, each member absorbed in their phone or tablet, responding to messages and scrolling through social media. While they're physically in the same room, they are mentally and emotionally disconnected. However, by establishing a tech-free rule for meals, the family can create a space where conversation flows freely, where they can engage meaningfully with one another, and where the presence of technology does not intrude. Such simple practices can significantly strengthen relationships and create the time and space necessary for emotional connection. Likewise, for individuals, taking time to disconnect from technology can provide a much-needed break for mental clarity. Constant exposure to screens can lead to burnout, fatigue, and anxiety, as we are perpetually bombarded by new information and stimuli. By creating tech-free zones, whether it's a weekend day spent without devices or a dedicated evening for self-care, we allow ourselves to experience peace and reflection. This time away from technology gives us the chance to reconnect with our own thoughts, emotions, and goals without the constant interruption of notifications, emails, or social media updates. Beyond setting boundaries with technology, it's also important to reflect on the larger purpose technology serves in our lives. Technology should enhance our lives, not overwhelm us. It is meant to be a tool for connection, not a source of distraction or emotional emptiness. We need to ask ourselves whether the digital connections we form are truly enriching or whether they are just fleeting exchanges that fill time without providing real value. The value of technology lies in how we use it, not in how much we use it. When used intentionally and thoughtfully, technology can improve our quality of life, help us stay connected, and even enhance our relationships. But when overused or misused, it can lead to loneliness, dissatisfaction, and a sense of being overwhelmed by the demands of the digital world. Living authentically in the digital age also means being mindful of our mental health. It is easy to become addicted to the dopamine rush of getting likes, retweets, or comments on a post. But this cycle can lead to emotional fatigue and a lack of genuine self-worth. The desire for external validation can overshadow our inner sense of purpose, leading us to measure our self-worth based on the opinions of others rather than our own values. One key step toward reclaiming authenticity is to reduce our dependence on digital validation and to focus more on developing inner confidence. This may involve spending time alone, engaging in activities that bring us joy, or nurturing relationships that provide emotional fulfillment, not just digital affirmation. Ultimately, the lessons from this digital age revolve around reclaiming our autonomy and emotional connection in a world that constantly demands our attention and participation. It's easy to become a passive consumer of digital content rather than an active creator of meaningful experiences. By setting boundaries, disconnecting when necessary, and cultivating authentic relationships, we can create a more balanced, fulfilling life, one where technology enhances rather than controls our experience. By focusing on genuine human interactions and embracing moments of solitude, we can ensure that our digital tools are serving our needs, not the other way around. The key to living fully in the digital age is to make mindful choices about how we engage with technology, ensuring that it complements rather than detracts from the richness of real-world experiences. Well, there you have it, Caraco's warnings and the critical lessons we can learn from them in the age of technology. The world we live in today is undeniably shaped by digital tools, but the question remains, are we truly living, or are we simply existing behind the glow of screens? Technology has brought incredible conveniences, but as we've seen today, it also comes with a hidden cost, a disconnect from the real, authentic experiences that make life rich and fulfilling. So, what can we do to live a more authentic, connected life? We can start by actively choosing to limit the time we spend online and focusing on what really matters: our relationships, our emotional well-being, and our real-world experiences. By mastering technology instead of letting it control us, we can reclaim our agency, our time, and our sense of self. But it's not just about what we've learned today. It's about how you apply these ideas in your own life. Will you take steps to reduce your dependency on technology? Will you reconnect with people face-to-face and build deeper, more meaningful relationships? Remember, you don't have to let technology take over your life. It's all about finding balance. If you found this video insightful, make sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends so they can join the conversation too. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into how we can navigate the complexities of modern life in the digital age. And if you feel inspired to support the channel, your super thanks is always appreciated. It helps us continue making content that matters to you. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Stay authentic, stay connected, and remember, you control your digital world, not the other way around. Until next time,